Good evening, Bitcoin and Metaplanet world. My name is Aiden Gillespie, and today we will be discussing Metaplanet and how the bottom is in. I actually had to change the title of this video. I made these slides a little bit earlier today, had to go back to work, and now the Tokyo Stock Exchange has opened and Metaplanet is up 5%. So I wanted to discuss why Metaplanet is undervalued, sorry, and why we just hit the bottom for Metaplanet. This is not financial advice. These are only my views on Metaplanet and Metaplanet stock. Do your own research. Again, not financial advice. This is financial entertainment. So, Metaplanet is on the rise, but the stock price has been on the fall. This has been nothing more than a perfect sale. So, the MNAV today was at 3.21 at the time of creating these slides, and the price closed at $9.18 for ticker MTPLF. The MNAV on June 10th was a 7, and the price was at $10.82. Basically, what happened was nothing really went wrong with Metaplanet. All that happened was that the MNAV crashed from a 7 to a 3.21. But if you really look at the true inherent value of Metaplanet, nothing was faulty. They were still buying plenty of Bitcoin, and their Bitcoin holdings, what really truly matters, was on the rise. The stock price just fell because MNAV fell, but nothing was inherently wrong with Metaplanet. The market was just panicking, selling, but nothing wrong at all with Metaplanet. So let's take a look at the actual value of Metaplanet. Remember that the MNAV equals market cap minus debt divided by Bitcoin holdings. So the true current value equals the total Bitcoin times the Bitcoin price minus the debt. That is the actual value of a Bitcoin treasury company if you take away the MNAV and take away the premium to the company. So the true value on June 10th, when Metaplanet held 8,888 Bitcoin and Bitcoin's price was $110,000, you take away that $83 million they had in debt and you get a price of $895 million. So the true value of Metaplanet on June 10th, based on just their Bitcoin holdings subtracted by their debt, was $895 million. Their true value today, they now have 16,352 Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's at $120,000. And then you subtract their debt today, which is at $117 million, and you get a true value of $1.85 billion. Metaplanet doubled their value in about a month, and their stock price crashed down. What happened? Why'd this happen? Well, nothing really. No issues at all with Metaplanet. Metaplanet actually now needs less Bitcoin now to cover their MNAV, so it's just trading super cheap right now. It's on a huge discount. If you're buying, then I think you're going to get a pretty good upside here coming up pretty shortly. Last month, looking at their Bitcoin holdings and their MNAV, you just multiply their Bitcoin holdings, which was almost 9,000 times that 7 MNAV, and you get 62,200 Bitcoin. So last month, they essentially needed to be able to acquire 62,000 Bitcoin to be able to cover their MNAV or justify the price that they were trading at, because people are paying a premium for Metaplanet because they think that Metaplanet can acquire more Bitcoin over time, giving shareholders more Bitcoin per share. That's why they trade at a premium. With last month's Bitcoin holdings and last month's MNAV, Metaplanet needed to be able to get to 62,000 Bitcoin to essentially justify that premium they were trading at. Now, this month, they now have 16,352 Bitcoin, and their MNAV has dropped all the way down to a 3.21. So they only need 52,500 Bitcoin to be able to cover or justify their premium. They need 52,500 Bitcoin to cover their MNAV. Considering that Metaplanet has nearly doubled their Bitcoin holdings in the past like 5 weeks, that is wildly undervalued. They are in track to being able to get over 50,000 Bitcoin easily within the next few months here. So I think Metaplanet is way, way, way undervalued. Also, the price is not likely to fall much farther. Metaplanet has historically rebounded when MNAV falls close to around 3. In May of 2024, this happened. In April of 2025, this happened. I believe it was around like a 3.1 MNAV when at both of these points Metaplanet rebounded. So historically, Metaplanet typically rebounds around that MNAV of 3. Additionally, we've kind of heard from Simon saying that Metaplanet really wants to acquire more Bitcoin around an MNAV of 3 to 6. That seems to be around their sweet spot, and they haven't really fallen much below that MNAV of 3. Even if they do, I'm not worried about it because they're still going to be keep on buying their Bitcoin, and I think it'll just be mean that they're trading at a huge discount if the MNAV does happen to fall below 3, but I don't think it will anytime in the near future. So now we'll look at the potential drawdown that Metaplanet has, assuming that they won't fall much below that 3 MNAV. So we can calculate the stock price by finding the Bitcoin NAV, which is the Bitcoin net asset value. You could just calculate that too, just by taking the company's Bitcoin holdings, multiply that by the price of Bitcoin, because that's essentially how much the company's Bitcoin is worth. And then you multiply that by the MNAV. And then from that, we would subtract the debt. And then we would divide that by the shares outstanding. And that would get us the stock price for the company. And then for just a data point here, the shares outstanding, what we'll divide everything by, is currently at 681 million. So the current stock price, we'll calculate that by taking the current Bitcoin NAV of Metaplanet, which is $1.96 billion. So they have $1.96 billion worth of Bitcoin. They're trading at a 3.21 MNAV. So the market is essentially valuing them 3.21 times greater than what their Bitcoin holdings currently are. And then we'll subtract their debt, which is $117 million. And then we'll divide all of that by the 681 million shares outstanding, and we get a price of $9.18, which is what MTPLF closed at today. Then we'll take a look at the stock price. If they fell down from that 3.21 MNAV to a 3.0 MNAV, so we'll take their Bitcoin net asset value of 1.96 billion. We'll multiply that by the MNAV after it fell to a 3, just by multiplying it by 3. And then we'll subtract that by their debt of $117 million. And then again, just divide that by the shares outstanding. And we get a price of $8.46. So the potential drawdown, assuming that Metaplanet stays above a 3 MNAV, and assuming that Bitcoin's price is constant, and also assuming that Metaplanet doesn't sell any Bitcoin, which I highly, highly doubt would ever happen. If anything, they're almost definitely going to be making a purchase announcement on Monday, so they'll probably only be buying more Bitcoin. So the potential drawdown, I think, is even actually less than this number. So we'll just take the $9.18 that the stock price closed at today, divide that by the potential drawdown that I just calculated at that 3 MNAV of $8.46. Divide it by today's closing price of $9.18 again, we get a potential drawdown of 7.84%. So I don't think it has much farther to go down. It's pretty darn low. And I would be betting on Metaplanet to make a quick rebound. The MNAV, I think, is going to start going back up here not too long. But even if it doesn't, Metaplanet keeps acquiring more Bitcoin, increasing their Bitcoin NAV. Metaplanet's going to go up, and I don't see much downside there. So if you got in today, I think you bought the bottom. And then considering that now that the Tokyo Stock Exchange has just opened after I already made these slides, and it's up like 4.5% at the time of this recording, I think we've probably seen the bottom here. Of course, I could be wrong. We could see it drop a little bit, but personally, I think we've seen the bottom, and I think we're going to be in for a great ride in the next few weeks and the next couple of months. And this is just a reminder to know what you hold. Those looking to get rich will get very, very poor very, very quick. And we've already seen that with a lot of people. Shorts will get liquidated and they'll be forced to buy at higher prices. Fools will be buying the hype and selling the fear. These people were buying because the stock price was going up. They couldn't see what Metaplanet was doing on the inside. They were only looking at the stock price, didn't even realize that Metaplanet was increasing the value of their company as much as they did. And they sold because they saw the stock price was going down. Yeah, those people kind of, honestly, they deserve to lose their money. You got to know what you hold. You got to do your own research and you got to know what you're getting yourself into. The only winners, you and me, the ones who spent hours researching metaplanets, those who kept crunching the numbers, those who learned and understood that Bitcoin is the only escape from our broken monetary system, those who ignored the noise, and those who trusted logic and reasoning. Those are the winners at the end of the day. Today, if Metaplanet was still down, they'd be calling you stupid. One day they'll call you lucky. You were never stupid or lucky. You were just the one who simply wasn't too lazy to understand. So if you're holding on to Metaplanet, congratulations. You deserve this. If you sold, then I don't know what to tell you. You should really probably do your own research and figure out what you're buying before you actually buy it. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. If you like content like this and have been liking my other videos, please consider liking and subscribing to support the channel.